Hey, Johnny Mullet here with another video. Today we're going to talk about handheld ham radios. These are dual band ham radios that cover multiple frequencies. These are made by Baofeng. All right, it's a Chinese company. Normally, if you are in the ham radio scene and you want to buy a Yazoo or a Kenwood or an Icon, you're going to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, for a handheld radio like these. The thing is, with the Baofeng, these are made in China, mass produced, and they are sold online, Amazon, eBay. You can get a radio like this for 25 bucks or less sometimes. So this is the original one that I got. This is the Baofeng UV5R. You search YouTube for the Baofeng UV5R, you will find lots and lots and lots of information. There's also many accessories you can buy for these radios. So maybe you have a friend or a family member that says, hey man, you need to get one of these Baofeng radios in case, the shit hits the fan or something, you'll have radio communications, which that person is probably correct. But to the newbie who buys one of these, they have no clue what to do with it. So why would you purchase something like this and let's just throw it in your bug out bag or whatever and have no clue how to use it? I don't suggest you do that. If you get one of these radios, you need to learn how to use it and you need to program the radio to work for you. So, like I said, these things are dirt cheap. Lots of accessories. You can get better antennas for them. You can hook it up to a mobile antenna or a base antenna. You can get the extended battery pack like this one has. So many things you can get. The first thing I suggest you get is a programming cable. I'm going to leave links in the description for all of this stuff. Now here's the deal with Baofeng. These radios were mass produced and mass sold. The problem is they do not comply with the FCC regulations. So if you were to purchase a Baofeng UV5R right now, it's probably not going to transmit on any frequency except for ham. Now you were able to program these radios to listen or even talk on FRS, which is Family Radio Service walkie-talkies, Gmrs radios, Gmrs radios. There's many different frequencies out there, and the older models would transmit on all frequencies, which, according to the FCC, is against their rules and regulations. For instance, an FRS radio is not supposed to have a removable antenna. So that is against the rules. So technically, you cannot transmit on one of these. So if you bought one of these, can you transmit on it? If you have a ham license, you can transmit on the ham bands. According to the rules and regulations, you cannot transmit on FRS or GMRS or Gmrs. But I did find that a lot of people don't have a ham license, but a lot of people who buy these are interested in them, and they went and got their ham license just because of it. Now, this model here I found on Amazon. I'm going to leave a link to this radio down below. This one here is called the UVS9. Now, the Baofeng website lists this radio as a tri-band radio, and it's an 8 to 10 watt model. This one here is not. It was like $16.99 when I bought it, plus shipping. The prices went up to $26, and now it's back down to $19. The price could change at any time. I don't know what this radio is. This might be a counterfeit. It very well could be a counterfeit. But, like I said, the Baofeng site, the UVS9 is a tri-band 8 to 10 watt. This is not. This is a 5 watt radio. This radio has the same exact guts as the UV5R. But for the price, you can't go wrong. And what's good about this radio, like I said, I'll leave the link in the description. This one transmits on all frequencies, which is nice to know. So, chalk that one down. So, basically, it's a $25 radio. If you have a $1,500 handheld radio and you drop it and break it, you're out a lot of money. That's why these radios are so popular, because if you lose it, you break it, you run it over, you drop it in the toilet, whatever, you're out 25 bucks. Now, they do have different models. They have so many different models of these radios, and you can search and see what you like. But most of them, they'll say, oh, it's an 8-watt radio, a 10-watt radio, but in reality, most of these are 5-watt radios. So I would say stick with the UV5R, or even this possibly a counterfeit radio. I'm not sure, but it works well. It transmits well. It does its job. Now, legal things. Legally, you cannot transmit on these, like I said, unless you have a ham license, and only on the ham frequencies. Even if you have a ham license, you cannot transmit on FRS or GMRS or any of the walkie-talkie frequencies according to their rules and regulations. But I'm not going to tell anybody to break the law. I did experiment with this radios. My buddy Branton Lewis bought a couple of these. I got them programmed, and I have all the channels, and I'm going to show you about the programming here coming up. And I was able to stand at the end of my driveway, and we put it on FRS channel 2, which is family radio service. And technically, I broke the rules and regulations because we talked back and forth. We were able to communicate. Now, he was in his vehicle with the same little antenna inside his vehicle, 3.5 miles. Very, very impressive. Did we break the law? Yeah, maybe, but did we bother anybody? Did we interfere with anybody? Is anybody going to come on and interfere with you and say, excuse me, but what kind of radio are you using? Oh, I don't know. It's just a Walmart radio, walkie-talkie. What's your problem? Anyway, transmitting on ham frequencies, do not do it. The ham frequencies are monitored and self-monitored and self-policed by ham radio operators. So if a bunch of kids get one of these and they decide that they're going to go play paintball or whatever, and they're using these and they're interfering with the ham frequencies, you'll get some very salty hams, and they will get angry. And if they find out who or where you are, they can report you to the FCC. If you get reported to the FCC, you could be looking at fines and or jail time. But in reality, it doesn't happen unless you are really screwing up the communications or interfering with emergency services. So what about GMRS? Well, legally, you cannot transmit on GMRS, even if you have a GMRS license, because the radio has too high of a wattage. It is what it is. So what I did is I set these radios up as scanners. I'm sorry if I'm breaking the rules and regulations, but I have used FRS channels to communicate short distances, and nobody has ever had a problem with it. So there's that. But basically, what I use these for is to listen. And if that's all you want to do is listen, you can. For instance, the power went out at home, and we had no power in the house. We were going to go out to the bus because, hey, the bus got power, it's on solar, blah, 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 but we stayed in the house. We figured it wouldn't be long. So I turned on my radio, and I started scanning my frequencies. There's a little scan button here, and I have frequencies programmed into this radio. There's the FRS. There's the GMRS channels. I got Gmrs channels in there. I got repeaters in there. I got all kinds of stuff programmed into these radios. So just sitting here, I was able to listen to the ham radio operators, and a ham radio operator got on to the local repeater and said, hey, the power's out south of Interstate 90. It seems to be on north. I'm going to drive around and see what's going on. So just sitting in the house, we were able to listen to this guy talk to other guys, and we found out how widespread the power outage was. And we found out that in about an hour that he found the utility trucks working on the power lines in a certain area near home. So we knew it wasn't going to be long. The power was going to be on. So beneficial, yes, to have these radios for listening. So if you just want to listen to the ham bands and listen to walkie-talkie channels, if you put it on some of the walkie-talkie channels like Gmrs, you can listen in on the Walmart or Home Depot people talking back and forth. So if you do get one of these, don't break the law. Don't make the hams salty. Don't do it. If you want to use it for communication, make sure it's programmed right. And technically, you're going to be breaking the rules if you use FRS or GMRS. But as long as you're not bothering it, I don't think you're going to have a problem. But don't listen to me. I'm not a professional. You can get in a lot of trouble. So there's that. So basically, like I said, I use these just to listen. And in a rare occurrence, I will transmit on FRS, just just to experiment with the radios, and I'm not causing any harm or any problems. So, and I don't really want to make a bunch of hams mad. But what the hams don't realize is this cheap Chinese radio that a lot of them, I'm not going to say a lot of them, I'm going to say some of them hate. This cheap Chinese radio has introduced a lot of people into ham radio and has introduced a lot of hams. So don't down talk a cheap piece of junk radio, because it does have its benefits. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to program these radios. You can go on YouTube and you can learn to manually program channels and save them into your channel mode and do it that way. It takes a long time. It's the hard way. You can do it. Or buy the programming cable, which I'll leave a link. And you get the Chirp software. You download Chirp software, C-H-I-R-P, onto your computer, and you use the microphone plug here, and you plug the cable in. You plug it into your laptop or computer. You remove the antenna. You turn it on, and I'm going to show you how to program channels in to your Baofeng radio. So let's check it out. And if you want to, you can pause the video to see what channels I have, like the FRS, GMRS, and MRS may be beneficial, the SOS channel. So it's not hard to find out how to program the radio. And if you do have local repeaters, you can go to the website, radioreference.com, and there's a few others, to find out where the local ham repeaters are in your area for 2 meter or 70 centimeter, and program them. And with the software, it's very easy to do. And you can listen to the hams as they discuss whatever they're discussing. So here it is. Check out how to program your radio. This way you know how to use it. All right, let's get into programming your Baofeng handheld radio. One of the first things you're going to need is a programming cable. And this side here plugs into your radio, and the USB plugs into your computer. Now, I have a Linux machine and not a Windows machine, so there may be a little bit of differences or whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and open up the Chirp software. I already have it open. And these are the frequencies that I have programmed into my radio. So it's not hard to do. You basically plug the radio into the computer. You go up to File, and you hit, you hit Radio, and you hit Download from Radio, and whatever the factory has in your radio will come up on the screen. And then you can go ahead and edit and change what you need to change. I actually have this on my Baofeng, and the way I have it set up, these first channels here are FRS. If you want to pause the video and write these numbers down so you don't have to search them, you are welcome to. So the first 14 channels here are FRS, Family Radio Service walkie-talkie channels. So those, while I monitor on scan, I can pick up walkie-talkies. Sometimes you get families or campers or kids playing on walkie-talkies. As I scroll down, we run into the GMRS, which is General Mobile Radio Service. I have all 22 of those channels. Now, before you start commenting, I do understand that some FRS frequencies overlap with GMRS because they are shared frequencies. But this is my radio. I want them separate. And not only that, while I'm scanning, if I miss an FRS channel communication, the GMRS shared channel will pick it up, which is pretty cool. So I'll scroll down a little bit so you can go ahead and copy these. Down here on the MRS, those are business radios like Walmart and Home Depot and other businesses will use. I do have those channels programmed in my radio, but if you look over here where it says skip, I do have them skipped because for some reason the MRS channels, I get a lot of interference and static from them, but I can manually go in there and tune to whatever channel I want to listen in. All right, and I also have, we'll scroll down a little more, the Gmrs Repeaters. There are 8 repeater channels. I have them all programmed in there. Every now and then I pick up a little something while I'm traveling. We'll scroll down a little bit more. Like I said, you can pause this video and write all these down so you can program your radio. But granted, these repeaters here for 2-meter ham, these are local for my area, so they probably not going to work. So the 70 cm right here, that is the 70 centimeter calling channel 446.000. I also have the international SOS channel programmed. That is the known SOS channel, so that's good to have. These are all repeaters down here. As you notice, I have some repeaters that are not skipped and some that are. The reason being is the skipped ones are just out of range. So if I'm here scanning, I'm going to pick up static and not be able to make out the voices. So the ones that are not skipped are the ones that I can actually hear at home. But I can still manually, have my radio in channel mode and use the arrow buttons up and down and go ahead and listen to any one of the channels that I have programmed on the radio. So we'll also go on down. I also have a couple fire department and medical channels for Erie. I have the school bus channel. We can listen in on that. I have the NOAA weather channels. Those have to be skipped because if you try to scan and those are not skipped, that's all you're going to hear is the weather channels because they constantly transmit. So we'll scroll on down a little more. I also have ship-to-ship communication and 3 United States Coast Guard channels. I also have a few military channels and the International Space Station. And these ones that say SIM, these are actually simplex channels for 2-meter. So that would be radio-to-radio communication without using a repeater. There is one repeater that shares the same frequency as one of the SIM channels, but it don't matter. I can still pick them up. So those are your simplex channels. You can write those down if you want. We go all the way up to 25. And I also have FEMA programmed in there, the Preppers channel. I got a few MERS channels programmed. They are all skipped and more repeaters. And I also got another channel here, 446-500, that's 70 centimeter radio to radio. So it's once you get everything figured out, and to find out what the offset and the tone is on a repeater, you can go to radioreference.com, look up your local ham repeaters, and very easily find out what the tone and the offset is, whether it's a plus 0.6 or negative or whatever, and program them in. So it takes a little bit of experimenting to get the right setup. So after you get everything programmed that you want to get programmed, you go to radio and you hit upload to radio. Make sure the antenna is off of the radio. Make sure you're plugged into your programming cable. You hit upload to radio and there's a couple prompts and it'll go ahead, make sure your radio is on and turn the volume up, and it'll program everything that you put in here into your radio. And like I said, this is how I found out that this particular radio here is actually, let's see if we get some light on it. This particular radio here is actually a UV5R and not a UV9S or whatever the hell they're trying to call it, because if it was an actual UV9S, it would be tri-band or tri-power, and there is only one setting for power, and that is high or low. So it is what it is, but it works just like I want. And what I like about these radios is they transmit on all frequencies. Of course, I don't have a ham license. I don't transmit. I just use them for listening. So there it is, programming the radios. So now I am going to show you how to use this radio. You can use it as a handheld, no problem. But you can also use it as a base station radio. You can also use it as a mobile radio in your vehicle and listen as you travel, which is cool. This has nothing to do with CB or Citizens Band radio. This is a completely different spectrum, completely different. So let's go check out how you can use these radios as a mobile or base station unit. Like I said, there's so many accessories available for these radios. There's a lot you can do with them. So check it out. So you can have your Baofeng radio set up as a base station, a mobile unit, or just a regular handheld unit as it comes. So never mind the big one here. This is my CB radio. My Baofeng is right here, and I use this here as a home base station radio. So what I have is I can remove the antenna, and I screw this wire into where the antenna goes, and I have a wire that goes outside the door there, and it's just a regular mobile magnet mount antenna on a steel plate. And what that does is that makes my Baofeng radio technically a base station. Granted, it's not a base station radio, it's not a base station antenna. It's basically a mobile setup inside the house, which is nice to have. So you can have your Baofeng set up as an actual base station, so you can sit in the house, and having an outdoor antenna, you will pick up a lot more than you will with the regular handheld antenna. So as you can see, the little red radio, the UB9S or S9 or UBS9, whatever they call it, it's actually picking up stuff that the other radio, the UB5R, is not. The reason being is the antenna. If you notice, the red radio has a very long antenna compared to the stock rubber ducky antenna that the radio comes with. The Nagoya 771 is the best antenna you can get for these radios for receiving and transmitting. Excellent. The one I have on here is not a Nagoya. This one here is actually a Luiton. It's the same antenna. I read the reviews. I got mine. My buddy's got a bunch of them. They all work good. We had no problems with them. So I definitely do receive better with the longer antenna compared to the short rubber ducky. So as far as handheld goes, the UV5R, there is so many accessories you can get for this radio. This black one here, I got the extended battery. It also has a place where you can plug in and charge this longer battery with a USB or 12 volt, which is pretty nice. This one here doesn't have too many accessories, minus antennas and stuff like that, but it's a good radio. Like I said, this UV-S9 radio is actually a UV5R in a different case. The real, I don't know if this is a fake or what it is. I got it off of Amazon. Like I said, I'll leave links below, but it's a good radio, don't get me wrong, but it's not a tri-band. And it's not an 8 or 10 watt radio. It's just a regular, I swear the guts from the black radio were put into the red radio. What's nice about it is the UV-S9 does transmit on all frequencies. The newer UV5Rs, if you try to buy one, it will only transmit on ham frequencies. So, that's kind of a bummer, but, the FCC was cracking down on them. So, anyways, for handheld use, you got your base station set up like I showed you over here. This is your handheld use, and let me show you the mobile setup. Okay, on my car, behind my CB antenna is this antenna right here. That is the Nagoya. I think it's the UT72. A great, awesome mobile antenna for ham radio. Great for 2 meter and 70 centimeter. SWRs are perfect. This is also the same antenna I use as a base station antenna. The car is the ground plane for this one, and the one on the porch has a pie plate, basically a 12 or 14 inch pie plate screwed to the deck, and the antenna is mounted on for my base station. So for mobile use, you do not want to use your transceiver with the antenna rubber ducky on it, because inside the vehicle you are not going to get too much. So let's go into the vehicle. Okay, let's see if we can get some light on the situation here. There we go. Sorry about the messy car, but it's winter time. So there is a UV5R hooked up as a mobile unit. There is an antenna adapter. It is a SMA adapter, so you can screw in a regular coax antenna into your radio. This 12-volt cord here is actually not a battery. It is a battery eliminator. So you take your regular battery out and you plug this unit in, and as you see, the radio will not turn on or power up or anything until the cigarette lighter is engaged. So now that, there we go. So I can go ahead and turn my radio on and scan the channels as I'm traveling. Pretty cool. So there is a mobile setup. You can also do this with the factory battery. It just gets annoying when you gotta, recharge batteries a lot. So having a mobile unit with a 12-volt cigarette lighter with the battery eliminator is nice. I will leave a link in the description for the battery eliminator. Alrighty then. So now that you know that you can buy one of these dirt cheap, you can buy a few cheap accessories. Yes, it's a cheap, fun hobby that can end up costing you lots of money if you start buying stuff and upgrading. But if you just want to get something like this to have in your bug out bag, or have just in case, for under 25 bucks, you're good to go. So like I said, this one here be the one to get, because it does transmit on all frequencies. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. If you buy one of these from the link and it doesn't, don't be angry with me. You still got a decent scanner radio. You can still transmit on ham bands if you have a ham license. But regardless, good radios. They're cheap. It's a fun hobby. You can have a lot of fun with them. And like I said, I use them to listen and monitor all the channels. It's kind of fun. You can hear the hunters using GMRS or FRS radios out in the woods. You can hear kids talking back and forth and playing whatever, with cheap Walmart walkie-talkies, because these radios pick it all up. You can also listen to emergency frequencies, like the emergency EMS services and fire departments and so forth. Now, the police frequencies, no, probably not. Most of those are trunked or, let's say, scrambled. You're not going to hear anything, but you might. So use the radioreference.com, find out the channels, and it takes time. Find out what you want to program. Go ahead and scan through, and if something's causing interference, you can go back and you can skip or delete that channel and make it so you enjoy it. So yes, the Baofeng UV5R, or this, I don't know what it is, but it works. UVS9, whatever. If you do want to get one, it's cheap. You'll have it. Hey, and like I said at the beginning of the video, make sure you know how to use it. Don't just buy one of these and throw it in your bag, because when you turn it on, there's going to be frequencies on there that you have no clue what or who or where, and you won't have a clue how to use it. So it's very important to learn how to program, even if you just do it manually and program a few, repeaters or what. Check out YouTube. Lots of videos on it. Don't piss off the hams. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Hope you learned something today.